All right, are we back? We back? I think we're back. Sorry, guys. I don't know. Sorry, guys. I don't know what was happening right there. I was on live stream and my screen glitched. So we just froze up. So just went and deleted it. We restarted it. So we're back. So where did I leave off? Yes, one of the craziest NASCAR weekends. One of the rare times where you see an Xfinity race be a stinker and the Cup race is the best race of the entire weekend and the truck race is actually in second place. It was one of those NASCAR weekends. It's one of those NASCAR weekends that you'll never forget. You'll know where you were when that finish happened. So all good for the sport. Some backmarkers did well. Some backmarkers didn't do too well. No DNQs this weekend and no DNQs for Las Vegas either. It's kind of weird, Usually the biggest part of the, backmarker battle show is the DNQ parts. And it's kind of sad that we're not having that right now. We're going to get into the show. I'm going to go through my little intro. I go through the beginning of every one of my podcasts. And like I said, guys, we will jump right into the Atlanta review. So you guys know the drill. Follow me on social media, Starting Parker on Twitter. Of course, I'm an aspiring ARCA driver. So if you want to see live updates from my racing career and other, normal stuff I love to tweet out, give me a follow. Like and subscribe to the channel. Turn on that bell for notifications. We just passed over 1,600 subs, getting very close to 2,000 subscribers. So the sooner we can get there and the sooner we can get to the 2,000 subscriber giveaway, that would be much, much appreciated. And of course, I'll give a shout out, as you guys saw on my Twitter today. I am doing a Salem Supercar race. That is a series that is run by ARCA driver Will Kimmel. It's one of his developmental divisions that he runs at the Salem Speedway. And I'm doing a fan sponsorship deal. It is $25 for your name or social handle, or $75 if you would like to get a small sponsor logo, or a meme, something like that, if you want to put that on the car. If you wish to be a part of that, just simply go to my Twitter and either reply to the tweet, or if you follow me, DM me. If you want to be a part of that, that'd be much appreciated. If you want to get a funny meme on a race car that's appropriate, of course, there you go. So thought I'd throw that in there. And of course, check out theracingexperts.com for all NASCAR media-related content, the official media partner of this podcast. So let's get right into it, shall we? Atlanta Superspeedway, not everybody's cup of tea. Obviously, some people, including myself, still prefer the old Atlanta. Not going to deny that I love the old Atlanta. I love racing on the old Atlanta with all the tire wear and just the multiple grooves. Part of me does wish they did do this to Texas, but I still think Texas can be salvaged if they maybe did some work in 3 and 4 and maybe made it a flat mile and a half. I think that would maybe separate it too. So I still think there's ways they can salvage Texas, but the new Atlanta's growing on me. It'll just be to see how the track continues to age. Will it just become a single file pack race? But yeah, so all 3 series were here. No DNQs, like I mentioned at the very beginning. We'll start off with the truck series. The truck series list actually only had 32 trucks on the initial entry list. The number 27 truck did withdraw. I wonder if that was because that truck was basically killed at at Daytona the previous week with Keith McGee driving it. That's my guess. That's not a confirmation. That's just my guess, is that maybe Rayom was going to run the 27 this weekend, but that truck getting killed at Daytona pretty much, no pun intended, killed that deal. So we only had 32 trucks on the initial entry list. The 21 of Mason Maggio's team. Ironically, this actually was a Rayom truck. So I guess Rayom maybe cut the 27 truck and blended that into the 21 truck deal, because the Floridian Motorsports team, they were their own entry at Daytona, but the Floridian Motorsports truck, the 21 this past weekend at Atlanta, was actually a Rayom Brothers racing truck, and it was being helped fielded by MBM Motorsports. They were actually using a lot of MBM stuff, and Carl Long himself was the crew chief on the car, or in the truck, I should say. So at least that bumped us up to 33 trucks, but man, I tell you, going from only 40 trucks for Daytona, which for a Daytona truck entry list was small, and then seeing only 33 for this race. Now, some people are saying, that could just be because, it's 2 plate races in reality to start the season. Some teams don't want to tear up their stuff. But then you also look at the entry list for Las Vegas. That only has 32. Spoiler alert. And it could also just be the travel costs to go out west too. I'll be curious to see at Bristol. I think Bristol will give us the biggest outlook on what truck entry lists are going to look like this year. And hopefully it's good, because I don't like seeing short fields. I know Fox especially. Us fans don't like seeing short fields, but we know Fox doesn't like seeing short fields. I'm sure NASCAR's maybe going to make some calls and try to make sure they get that 36 truck field every week. But, man, I tell you, it looks like we only have maybe 31 to 32, 33 maximum full-time teams. So we might see some field fillers. We have to get Brock Beer on the phone and make another field fillers episode. 2024 Truck Series edition. But yeah, we had a few oddball entries in this one. Relatively the same from Daytona, though. The only difference is really where Colby Howard was in the 1 truck for Tricon. Kyle Busch was in the 7 for Spire. Keith McGee was put in the 22 instead of the 27. Caden Honeycutt replaced Johnny Sauter in the 45. Connor Jones was entered in the 66. And I believe that was it. Other than that, it was pretty much the exact same entry list. So not a lot of swaps from in and out, kind of the same entry list. Obviously, the truck series, none of the series runs practice here, so they just ran qualifying. It really all depends on what motor you got, because there's no, it's pretty much wide open around this track. Unshockingly, the trucks that you expected to be slow were slow, and the trucks that you expected to be fast were fast. So there really was no good underdog runs for trucks in terms of truck series qualifying, though I will say, despite the GMS equipment, Spencer Boyd being slowest for that 76 team, not really a good omen for how their season might turn out. And not really a good omen for how their season might turn out. The 76 team might get saved by short fields this year in terms of DNQs, because I don't know, man. I'm going to be really curious to see what speed they have at Vegas this week. And that's going to be the real first test for this new Freedom Racing Enterprises organization, because Daytona and Atlanta will not show, with the drafting, it will not show what this team truly has. And I'm going to be curious to see, is this team going to be any better than what Spencer Boyd was doing at Young's? And right now, I'll be honest with you, just based off of Spencer's past, I don't think it will be. And I think the only reason why they're going to get saved this year in terms of DNQs is because we're probably going to have some short fields. Or if we do have a couple of DNQs, they'll be part-time teams, as the 76 will have plenty of owner points. So that was noticeable. But yeah, so we got to the race on Saturday. Fox's coverage. We say it all the time, and we try to be nice. Jamie Little, one of the best pit reporters, arguably in my personal opinion, the best female pit reporter in NASCAR history. She's really good at that. Commentary, she just can't do it. I'm sorry, she just cannot do it. And that is being nice. She just can't do it. She's great at her job, though, as a pit reporter. Like I said, arguably my personal opinion, behind Chris Devoda and Wendy Benarini, she is the best female pit reporter. But commentary is just not her thing. Michael Waltrip is Michael Waltrip. And Phil Parsons, one of the best damn commentators I've ever seen. So I feel like Phil Parsons is kind of there to keep both of them in check, because he's really good at his job. But yeah, again, I mean, no disrespect to Jamie, but man, it didn't do this broadcast any favors. Really kind of an uneventful truck race, I'll say. In the first couple of laps, the 22 immediately lost the draft. The 76 lost the draft. They caught the 22 almost uncomfortably quickly. Luckily, it felt like the 22 got faster as the race went on. But in the first part of the race, and maybe I just attribute this to a bad setup, Keith's inexperience on the track, his confidence was obviously growing. The 22 spun on lap 16. Luckily didn't hit anything, didn't revert back into the field, but quickly went multiple laps down. Luckily they got multiple free passes and were able to get the truck. I think they were able to get the truck back on the lead lap, if not only a couple laps down. So the 22 did recover. One of the biggest moments at the beginning of the race was Christian Eckes, who, despite having a great truck, lost his brakes. And to my absolute shock, and many NASCAR fans alike, they left Christian Eckes out there on the track with really no brakes. I mean, we've seen some drivers say, "Oh, my brakes are gone," but then you see him still be able to slow the car down. Like, no, this was a legit situation where this guy had no brakes. He tried to come into his pit stall, And legitimately, like, there was no shot. I don't think the truck even slowed down a bit. You don't see that very often. And, here's the thing. You know what would have fixed that? A practice session. They probably would have discovered some issues with the brakes and gotten them fixed. So, again, some teams might not want practice, but again, I feel like, and I said this on the Daytona practice session too, you can have a practice. Just don't make it to where all the teams have to make a lap. If the top truck teams don't want to make a lap in practice, then they don't have to. Let the teams who want to actually go out there and rake some practice laps go run some practice laps. If the top teams feel their truck is good enough, like they don't need to run practice laps, let's just go straight to qualifying, then good for them. But if some teams want to practice, then let them practice, dude. If they want to spend the money on tires, if they want to risk tearing up their truck, let them. It's all only going to help them. It's not going to hurt them. There's no way. I mean, again, all this bull crap about saving teams money. You don't save money in NASCAR. If you're a NASCAR team owner, you are not saving money. It's that simple. So, again, another issue like the 19 truck that could have been fixed, could have been prevented if we had a practice session. So, but nothing's going to change. Anyway, there's my little rant about that. After that, we had kind of the big crash of the race. It was also at this time where we had noticed the 41. Sorry if you hear my brother's dog. My brother's dog's wrestling upstairs, so I don't know if you can hear that. It was at this point we also noticed that the 38, which had done this before, and the niche trucks had some weird stuff going on with their windshields. Very similar to what Zane Smith was having at Homestead last year before he eventually got disqualified. And I don't know how they expect to not get away with this. I'm not even kidding you. It's like the bent windshields was so goddamn obvious. Like, who are they trying to fool here? I know it's not visible to the naked eye in tech, but when the cameras are that zoomed in on the trucks, I mean, do they just think the officials are not looking at that? Like they're not, taking a circle and like, okay, we got to check this truck and this truck and this truck. Like, no, it's like, did they just expect it not to get caught? I mean, like that was so blatant. And then the 41's roof came off, which, I mean, my good friend George Balfaz Jr. has now become a meme because of it, because of his look. He's looking at the truck with this expression on your face like, what the hell am I looking at? And yeah, I've never seen that before, where a roof of a truck simply just came off. I've never seen that before. Kind of surprised the 41 didn't get disqualified. It actually ended up being the 38 truck that got disqualified, whereas the 45, who clearly had that windshield, didn't get disqualified, and the 41, whose roofs came off, that truck didn't get disqualified. So tough for the 38 team. Real tough start, man, for Lane Riggs. I gotta say that sucks for him, man. Just makes you wonder, is it going to be one of those seasons for Lane? I hope not. I hope not. I love Lane Riggs. I'm a big Scott Riggs fan. Everyone knows I'm a big Scott Riggs fan, so automatically I'm a Lane Riggs fan. But I was just kind of shocked to see only the 38 truck get DQ'd, I should say. Realistically, there wasn't much else that really happened in the race. We had Jack Wood doing what Jack Wood does best and crash. That wasn't a shocker. Matt Mills, he led some laps before he hit the wall. Thad Moffitt did nothing as usual. Poor Grant Enfinger. Literally within like the final 10 laps, it looked like maybe CR7 Motorsports. I know they're practically what's left of GMS Racing is now CR7 Motorsports. They've definitely stepped up their game. But man, do you got to feel bad for that. Cody Robar has put so much effort into that organization. I'm not the biggest Grant Enfinger fan, but man, if CR7 had won this race, I would have been so happy for Cody. He has really, really put a lot of money and effort into that team. And when they get that first win, and I do believe the 9 team will get that first win, it's going to be special. And it's going to be a very popular win, not just because Grant Enfinger's popular, but because a new team like Cody Robar, which was, part-time, then full-time, then back down to part-time, now full-time again, and look where they are now. So I'm very, 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 very happy for that. But unfortunately, with I think it was 6 or 7 laps to go, Enfinger was leading. They go into turn 1, and his truck just goes high, and it looks like a tire went down. So that really sucks for Enfinger, man. He didn't deserve that. Enfinger did not deserve that. I felt really bad for him. Like, not only did he just lose, did he just kind of lose, but and the part that sucks is like he couldn't even like finish like top 10 though. He had to finish like 2 or 3 laps down. It's just, oh god, it was just it sucked. That's all I'm gonna say. I mean, I think where they end up 25th, yeah, they deserved way better than 25th. So, but I hope the 9 team wins, and trust me, when that'll be a win for the underdogs. And you want to know why? You know, you can say that some teams, Rollbar, like I said, he's put so much effort into that game, and he's just upgraded his stuff. But he'll still be classified as an underdog, in my opinion. You can have great stuff in racing and still be classified as an underdog. You can still have great equipment in racing and still be classified as an underdog. So I do hope the 9 team can win this year. And if they can somehow win the championship, that'd be so cool. So cool to see a team like Cody Rollbars win. But nonetheless, Kyle Busch got the lead, and I'll be honest with you guys, it just looked like nobody wanted to pass Kyle Busch. I mean, realistically, he just led and led and led, and then the final lap came. Ty Majeski never backed up. He never didn't feel like he tried to make a move. He basically pushed Kyle Busch into turn 3, and that was it. I mean, you know, Corey Heim went low to try to at least get second place. It didn't work. And that was it. Kyle Busch wins again. I think, his 65th Truck Series victory? I mean, you know, the race wasn't terrible, but you talk about anticlimactic. It's like nobody wanted the win. That's like, hey, let's just give it to the Cup guy. Kyle Busch made that look easy. That's probably one of Kyle Busch's easiest truck wins he's ever gotten. So, and how about that for Kyle Busch? I mean, his very first race since the Spire merger. By the way, I don't know if you guys saw the news. Kyle Busch is apparently also in a lawsuit with Rev Racing over unpaid wages from the partnership from 2023, which, by the way, now him and Nick Sanchez were in technicality teammates. So talk about an awkward situation there. But yeah, Kyle Busch, first race in the 7 truck since selling his team to Spire Motorsports, and he goes out there and wins. In true Kyle Busch fashion. Gotta love it. Gotta love it now. So, but hey, good for him. Good for Kyle Busch. Good for Spire, man. Spire Motorsports is probably one of the best. Other than Trackhouse's rise, I think Spire Motorsports' rise is one thing that is so great to see in this sport, from its, you know, humble beginnings as nothing more than a field filler Cup car to now 3 full-time Cup cars and 3 full-time trucks. It's pretty impressive, man, and it's great to see. No real backmarker runs that I would consider great. I mean, Caden Honeycutt, I would consider him more of an underdog driver, not really a backmarker team. But Caden Honeycutt, a great 6th place finish for him. He had a great day. Brett Holmes finished 11th. Lawless Allen, despite spinning during the race, even though Fox didn't show it, Lawless Allen managed to finish 12th. And I tell you, after how bad Rayom did at Daytona, that 12th place finish, I remember Josh's tweet. Josh basically, it's like, he was just like on cloud 9. And yeah, that had to be, number 1, a good payday. And number 2, just be happy that you didn't tear more stuff up. And I'm really going to be curious to see how Lawless does this season. I mean, I'm a Lawless guy. I like him. And I think, you know, him being the focus at Rayom this year instead of being one of the side drivers at Nice, I think Lawless is going to do better this year, and I hope he does. But he was 12th. Timmy Hill was 18th. Not a bad run for him. They were just kind of staying out of trouble. Unfortunately, I think Timmy just got a little too far behind. You know, in those last couple laps, when it looked like you know, there was not going to be a caution, and Timmy, you know, tried to gain a couple more spots. I think he was just too far behind the pack's trucks. He ran a couple of them down, but just couldn't run enough down. But still managed 18th. Not a bad way to start the season for the Hill Motorsports friends. And then I'll even give shout out to Keith McGee and Mason Massey, 20th and 21st, and even, I guess, Spencer Boyd, 22nd. You know, Nothing special runs, but not bad either. So they did their jobs. They brought their trucks home in one piece, and that's the most important thing. Those teams really cannot afford to tear any stuff up. So truck race was okay. I give it a 5 or 6 out of 10. Nothing special, but not bad. Not bad, not good. Just your average run-of-the-mill truck race. It did its job. Like I said, Las Vegas is really going to show us who's going to be in the championship hunt this year. It's also going to see, like I said, who's going to be good in their new rides. And that's kind of the weird part. We talked about that. We're going to talk about the same thing now with Xfinity in a couple minutes, how Las Vegas in reality is the real start to the season, which is kind of weird. Race number 3 is the start to the season. Race number 1 and 2, it's kind of just luck. Those wins are kind of luck. Who can get it? Not really who has the best car is going to win those races. But at track like Las Vegas, 9 times out of 10, who has the best car or best truck wins those races at Las Vegas. But yeah, truck race was okay. Run-of-the-mill truck race. Nothing special, nothing bad. We have a truck lose its roof. We had bent windshields, and Kyle Busch wins again. So it's about your average truck race. Later that day, we had the Xfinity race. And in a rare instance, I think we can all agree, guys, this Xfinity race was a stinker. Very rarely will you use the word stinker and Xfinity race in the same sentence. But I'm telling you guys, this was an absolute stinker. This was not good. Probably one of the worst Xfinity races. I'll say this, probably the worst Xfinity race since the 2019 Daytona season opener, where they literally ran in a single file train the entire race, and then Michael Annett just won. I will say this was worse than that because Daytona was big enough where you could make moves. And it just shocked me. I mean, there was a lot of love coming for this race. And I think a lot of people were just shocked at how boring, how just uneventful it felt. Nothing really happened. And, you just got to remember, some races, the Xfinity setup works better than the Cup cars. This just happens to be one of the tracks where the Xfinity setup arguably works against them. Now, I did see some people posting, and I do think this would help. I think if you want to fix the Xfinity series at this track, instead of them running 510, the super speedway horsepower package, have them run the full 650 horsepower. I know that's fast. That's a lot of speed around here, but I feel like if you ran the full 650 horsepower package around here, you would probably see some better racing. They would probably be off the throttle too. I'm not going to lie. Even though the banking is pretty steep, if they had a full 650 horsepower package for this race, you'd probably see some off throttle time. You would see a very, very unique race if they did that. So maybe they could do that down the line. 140 horsepower is definitely a big difference. But yeah, they got to do something because they can't just have this Xfinity race be a stinker like this every damn time. And it's not even like this is the first one. A lot of the Xfinity races at Atlanta have been kind of stinkers, where they just get into a single file train and not much happens. Like the truck race, we didn't have any DNQs. This did have a full field, at least 38 cars for 38 spots. Kind of like Daytona with trucks, no real changes for this week. The only real changes to the entry list this week were J.J. Yeley in the 14. It was a Bobby Dotter entry this week, not Colleague. But it does look like the 14 team is sticking with the Colleague font, which I like. I think it's actually a pretty good-looking font. So J.J. Yeley was in the 14. Jeffrey Earnhardt was in the 26. Joey Gase moved back into his 35 car. Nick Leitz from the Truck Series was making his Xfinity debut. And again, that was pretty much it. Other than that, it was just kind of the same thing. Nothing really different. We got to the race, and, like I said, I didn't mention much about the truck race, but there's really nothing to mention here. It really was the Jesse Love show. I couldn't believe that. He led 157 of 169 laps. He really, really led this thing. The only real notable moments of the race did actually take place between a couple of backmarkers. J.J. Yeley and Kyle Weatherman. I was listening to the number 32's radio. This was one of the big things of the race. The number 32 was Jordan Anderson, but it was actually a Mike Harmon entry. The car was actually the same car that Stanton Barrett drove at the race at Daytona, just with a different nose. Yeah, it was pretty much the exact same car. It was with a setup for Jordan Anderson. They had a battery issue in qualifying, and the car was just never really right from the start for Jordan. I was listening to Jordan's radio. The car was just never right. Jordan, he couldn't go full throttle, so he lost the draft very quickly and was very slow too. He kind of sounded like he really wasn't having a fun time out there. And the issues got worse and worse in the front. They eventually just parked the car for steering issues, and they would finish last. So sucks for Harmon. I got to wonder maybe if the 74 team will take the number 32's owner's points following this weekend's race at Las Vegas. I got to think that's part of the deal, or else I don't know why this is happening. Poor Josh Williams. He had a tough weekend. Crashed out on lap 2 of the Cup race and had 2 straight tire failures under green at Atlanta in the first stage of the race. He was 8 laps down by lap 35. So poor Josh Williams, man. Atlanta has not been very kind to him. He's ready to leave Atlanta, that's for sure. Tough start for his year at a colleague. RSS Racing, man, I tell you, I don't know what happened to RSS Racing. But holy crap, it just doesn't feel like that the 28 has any speed. I really hope we see an RSS Racing emergence at Vegas, because what the heck happened here? The 28 was dog slow. The 38 was dog slow. They missed the race at Daytona, which was a real shock. You know, Ryan Sieg, he was up there. He was up there, but then he ran out of fuel. RSS Racing, man, definitely not showing the same pace so far that they were showing last year. Like I said, the big moments of the race was the 91 turning the 14 of J.J. Yeley on the front stretch. Obviously was not intentional. I was listening to the number 14's radio as well. And yeah, Jason Miller, the crew chief, longtime crew chief, I should say, for SS Greenlight Racing, was very hot on the radio. So was JJ. You know, even though it was not intentional by the 91, I'm sure it was not. JJ was not happy. Jason Miller was not happy. Also, mainly because that car was the Las Vegas primary. They were going to take that exact same car to Las Vegas. They did not want that car getting damaged because JJ was going to be driving that exact same car too. So you can understand from that retrospective why they were so mad. Not just because they got turned, but they almost potentially wrecked their primary car and would have had to throw together a car to go to Vegas and then run like crap there. So, and then needless to say, that wasn't the only time of the race where they almost got together. Later in the race, that Yeley and Weatherman were running with each other. And again, Yeley was complaining about the 91 trying to wreck him. Been a tough start to Weatherman's year too, to be honest with you. But yeah, there were a lot of slow cars in this field. The 6 of Garrett Smithley, I don't think he even had a leased motor, so he was slow. The 07 was slow. I mean, the 07 had a leased motor, so that was kind of weird. John Hunter Nemechek, it's been a tough year to start for him for Xfinity. He's crashed in both races. A lot of the lower budget guys, again, really struggling. But RSS Racing, just like I said, man, RSS Racing, 3 cars outside of the top 30, man. I hope we can see some rebounds out of RSS Racing at Las Vegas, because, man, this sucks to see. The story of the game was fuel mileage. The way the final stage was going, could they go the distance, over 75 laps on fuel? And it looked like we were until people started running out of fuel. And I'm not going to lie, guys, we had a caution for Ryan Sieg. There were a lot of crew chiefs on the radio that were not happy with the 39 team, because we saw some cars run out on the finish line and were able to coast back around, because it's only in a 1.5 mile track. Usually you can coast back around. And the 39 team was pretty close to pit road. So I wonder where they ran out of fuel. And a lot of people were not happy, complaining that the 39 car stopped on purpose to bring out a yellow. I don't know why they would have done that. I mean, that's kind of a conspiracy theory between the teams. I'm just going off of what I heard on radios. I heard this from about 4 or 5 different teams, that they thought that the 39 car stopped on purpose. Either way, it set up an overtime finish, and boy, if everyone was cutting it close on fuel, they were cutting it even closer now. We went to the restart. Everybody was running out of fuel. The 2 car ran out of fuel. The 15 car ran out of fuel. The 27 ran out of fuel. The 42 ran out of fuel. The 98 ran out of fuel. Who else? I don't know, man. Everyone was running out of fuel. And Austin Hill, who would have thought? Everybody's favorite plate racer, Austin Hill, comes in and steals the victory. Oh, man, NASCAR Twitter was not happy. Arguably, the best moment of the whole thing was SVG, Shane Van Gisberen, finishing third. How about that? So good for SVG, getting a top 3 finish. But yeah, Austin Hill wins, boy. And, of course, who does he beat? A Gibbs car. So kind of the same finish we had last week of Austin Hill beating a Gibbs car. Parker Retzlaff finishes 5th. Great runs for him to start the year. Jeremy Clements finishing 6th. Anthony Alfredo finishing 7th. Jeffrey Earnhardt 8th. Love Jeffrey. Jesse Love, poor Jesse Love, man, led 157 of 169 laps just to finish 12th. Kid's going to be a superstar. Some decent other backmarker runs, though. We had Kyle Weatherman in 17th and BJ McLeod, who was unsponsored in both races. BJ running a very conservative and finished a solid 18th. So that marks 2 straight top 20s for BJ McLeod's Xfinity team. And Brennan Poole in 20th. Not a bad run for him either. And Leland Honeyman in 21st. So good for those teams to get some more momentum built up. But I'll have to say, guys, you know, the finish doesn't make up for a bad race. This was a stinker. I give it a 3 out of 10. And the reason why I give it a 3 is because of that finish. Is definitely because of that finish. So I don't know what they have to do to improve the Xfinity package here, but they need to change something, because that was a flat-out stinker of a race. Not good. And I hate saying that about Xfinity, because it really is the fans' favorite series. I mean, I'm sure if you ask the people, it would be the most popular NASCAR division. So, but we know they're going to put on a banger at Las Vegas, because Xfinity always does at a mile and a half. They always put on banger races. So at least we can know that Las Vegas will be a better one. So, yeah. Now we move on to the Cup race. And wow, I cannot do this race justice, guys. I would say from flag to flag, even if you take out the stupid lap 2 crash, this was a very, very fun, good race. This was probably one of the best flag-to-flag Cup races that I have seen in a long time. Very rarely, in this day, especially in this day and age of NASCAR, do you get a flag-to-flag Cup race that is always keeping you glued to the TV. Because, and the reason why I say that is, I watch every Cup race flag to flag. I never skip one. I try my best not to skip one. If I skip one, it's because of work. I watch every Cup race flag to flag. But I admit there's a lot of the times where I get sidetracked. I'll, watch something on the computer, or I'll type up some notes, or you get on your phone and you get a little distracted. This was one of those rare Cup races where you didn't want to look away. You didn't want to take notes. You wanted to stay glued to the TV because you had no idea what was going to happen. It was good. And that's the kind of racing you want. And, well, NASCAR got that. I just hope we don't do this at every 1.5 mile. Please don't do this at every 1.5 mile. Don't you dare mess with Kansas. That is one of the best mile-and-a-half tracks on the circuit. Don't you dare turn that into a super speedway. But still, you guys see my point. This was a race where your eyes were glued to the TV every single lap. The only time that you took a break was when they were either in commercial or they were under a stage caution. It was good. We had the 36 cars. We actually had an unchartered entry. BJ McLeod's team decided to show up again, which was cool. Unsponsored again. Really sucks to see the 78 unsponsored 2 weeks in a row, especially considering that the open teams don't get crap for payouts. No real surprises in qualifying. The backmarker teams were where they were. Michael McDowell, though, got a pole, so that's kind of cool. Always cool seeing the underdogs. Again, you could say, they got an RFK alliance now. They're not underdogs, but they still are. They still are, trust me. But this was a race where both Bob Jenkins cars, again, proved that they're here to stay and they're here to play. So, got to love that. Race got going, and we had an unbelievable pileup on lap 2. I think it wrecked almost everybody. Somehow, it only took out one car from that first lap crash. Josh Williams, unfortunately, lasted 2 laps before he went out. Everybody else managed to keep going. Some cars went to the garage. Some cars were able to come back out. A couple of cars did drop off as the race went on, like Noah Gragson, Christopher Bell from that crash. They did eventually drop back out of the race. But I was kind of amazed how big of a crash that was, and yet it really didn't take anyone out of the race and really didn't take out any potential winners. But yeah, the race was just full of action. We had all these cautions. It felt like we would have a long run and then we'd have some cautions. Long run and then we'd have some cautions. But this just was a great race. I cannot just tell you guys how good this race was. It really was something fun to watch. I was listening to the number 78 radio, as you guys may have saw by my tweets. I was just typing in, kind of the fun stuff out here on BJ's Cup team. BJ was having a lot of fun, man. The team was excited about the car they had. And then unfortunately came that stage 2 green flag run where on the pit sequence, BJ, he didn't get on the pit road right and he sped on pit road. And unfortunately, with how the pit road is at Atlanta, it's a death sentence. You basically come in on the backstretch and you have to ride all the way around at 30 miles per hour. And it killed BJ's race. He got 3 laps down. Was really beating himself up over it, which made me feel bad for him. And, I got a lot of flack for when I put the tweet out saying like, oh, he doesn't want to be out there running 3 laps down. I wanted to talk about that tweet and just say that wasn't meant to do anything to BJ. And I think for the people who are like, oh, why is BJ even out there? Well, keep in mind, BJ's not a chartered team anymore. He's out here for one thing and one thing only, a good finish and a lead lap finish. And with him being 3 laps down now, he just doesn't see the point in being out there. That's the reason why. And I think we can all agree that makes sense. That really makes sense why BJ wanted to park the car. It was actually the team that wanted him to keep going. BJ wanted to park the car, but the team wanted him to keep going because they kind of knew, hey, if we finish this thing, we can still come out of here with an okay finish. But yeah, BJ, he did not want to finish that race. They were actually involved in the first lap crash. Didn't get much damage, but it was enough where it kind of screwed up the car. But yeah, BJ, when BJ gets animated, man, he gets animated. So his radio got pretty fun at sometimes. But yeah, needless to say, BJ unfortunately was trapped 3 laps down for the rest of the race. Still got a decent finish out of it. I mean, I guess for them, 24th is still not a bad finish at all for that team. But man, I really do wonder what they would have done if they would have stayed on the lead lap. Needless to say, guys, we come down to that last run. With all the crashes, we had the 77 almost go flying in the air, which was funny. And then that last lap, I tell you guys, I thought the 12 had it. I'll be honest with you. I thought the 12 car had it. I thought the 12 car was going to win. I'm like, it's another Ryan Blaney plate race win. I love Ryan Blaney, but I'm like, man, I wanted to see someone new, like a Kyle Busch or a Suarez win. So I love Ryan Blaney, but I'm like, let's see someone else win for once. And Kyle Busch made that unbelievable move coming down the back straight. That is a move that only guys like Kyle Busch would make. I don't think any other people would really make that kind of a move. He forced his way between the 99 and the 12 and somehow did not crash. And with how the 2 cars behind them checked up, there was nobody behind the 99, the 12, and the 8 to really push anyone out front. So they were all side drafting each other like, holy crap. No one's going to get out front. 3-wide finish. And just like the movie Cars, an unbelievable finish. 3 by 3 by 3 as they came across the checkered flag. And I'll admit it, I thought Blaney got it. A lot of people, including me, thought Blaney got it. They had to slow down, just like they did with Craven and Busch. They had to slow it down, and it sure enough, it proved that by 0.003 of a thousandths of a second, that Daniel Suarez beat Ryan Blaney, and Kyle Busch ended up third. An amazing finish. And arguably, I'm going to say right now, that win single-handedly has saved Daniel Suarez's career. Because I'm telling you, after the dismal 2023 that man had, a lot of people were thinking that if he did not perform this year, he was potentially going to be done. Potentially. This win single-handedly just saved his career. And I'll say this, great driving by him. You know, he's one of those guys, he can only win on a road course. He shut up a lot of haters. Winning on an oval, especially this kind of an oval, pretty freaking impressive. So good for Daniel, man. Like I said, the NASCAR needed this after a complete flat finish from Daytona. NASCAR needed this. Atlanta needed this for ticket sales. So many positives. I put that tweet out because it's 100% true. So many positives came out of that Cup Series finish, man. NASCAR needed that, and I'm so happy for the sport that happened. Just so much greatness for that. I'm so excited, guys. I'm still on cloud nine about it. Now, is it the greatest NASCAR finish of all time? No, it is not, and I don't want to hear people saying it is. Okay, there have been plenty of NASCAR finishes like that, not 3 by 3 by 3, but plenty of NASCAR finishes that I would say are better. My personal favorite NASCAR finish of all time, it is Craven and Busch. And I just don't think that one will be topped because it wasn't a super speedway race. That was back when Darlington was tough to drive. Those two cars were beat up. Craven and Busch were beating the crap out of each other and their cars on track, you know, and the story of Pontiac getting their last win, the Tide Ride getting what would be its last win for a long time in NASCAR. The Tide Ride, Cal Wells, that story of that team getting that victory, it just won't be topped. That story will never be topped. In my opinion, it's the greatest NASCAR finish story of all time. Pontiac getting their last win, Tide Ride getting its last win, and Cal Wells getting that team's its last win. That is a great story. So I don't see that story ever being topped. That for me is the greatest NASCAR finish of all time. Now, would I put Atlanta in the top 3? Yes. I would put that number 2. That was my number 2 favorite NASCAR finish of all time because you're not going to get much better than 3 by 3 by 3. So, yeah, that was Atlanta, guys. We're going to move on to Las Vegas here in a second, but truck race, okay. Xfinity race, stinker. Cup race, phenomenal. I give it a 9 out of 10. I wouldn't give it a 10 out of 10, and the only reason why was because of that lap 2 pileup. That was stupid, but 9 out of 10, guys. Really, really good race. And if you haven't seen the whole race, if you've just seen the finish, I highly recommend that you go watch the whole thing. It's a very, very fun race to watch. All right, well, that was Atlanta. Now we move on to Las Vegas, which for many people just want to get to Las Vegas because they really want to see what they're going to have for the season. Obviously, Las Vegas, one of the prominent 1.5 milers on the track, a very fun track, usually puts on good racing for all 3 divisions. So I think we're in for a good one this weekend. Let's start off with the truck series here, and man, like I said, just like Atlanta, struggling field sizes are hopefully not going to be a common theme this year. Only 32 trucks for 36 spots. I also attribute this to the cost of traveling out west. It just simply is not worth it for a part-time team. It really isn't. For the purse money that the Truck Series teams get, it really isn't worth it for the team unless you have like major sponsorship to go all the way out west to run this race. That's why I said we're going to have to really look at Bristol for that truck race to see how they're going to do in terms of field sizes. But yeah, 36 trucks. No real changes on the entry list other than Christopher Bell in the 1. Connor Mosak. Connor Mosak. I didn't even know he was out of Toyota, but yeah, Connor Mosak is in the 45. And that's really it. Zane Smith will be in the 91. Excuse me there. Zane Smith will be in the 91. He is running a partial schedule for that team this year. So cool to see Zane back in trucks. But that's really it. Again, not really many changes with the Truck Series Xfinity lists. But only 32 trucks. The shortest Truck Series field at Vegas in a long time. I hope this is not a sign of things to come for this season. I love the Truck Series. It's a soft spot series for me. I don't want to see the field sizes struggle this bad. I still think it'll be a great race overall. If I had to give a pick to win the race, I'm going to go with Christopher Bell to win the race. And my underdog pick, I'm going to pick, I think I'll go with Zane Smith as my underdog just because he's driving for a new team. So I do expect to see starting parks in the Truck Series this year. Even though NASCAR has kind of outlawed that, if they need them to fill the field, wouldn't shock me if you see some starting parks in the Truck Series because they need to fill the field. So would not shock me if you see a couple. It really would not. Maybe from Rayom. I don't think Benning would do it anymore, but maybe from Rayom. Maybe one of the top teams would enter in a backup truck. And we know ThorSport used to do it. ThorSport used to do starting parks back in the day. So maybe ThorSport does it with the 66 for a starting park. Maybe Cobb. Yeah, I don't know. But I think Bristol will really tell us. If we cannot get a full field for Bristol, then I would be concerned. But right now, guys, I would just attribute it to it's a long trip out west. The teams don't want to travel out there for part-time efforts. Let's look and see how Bristol's going to be. But yeah, so that's Las Vegas Trucks. Winner's pick is Christopher Bell. My underdog pick is Zane Smith. Xfinity race again. I love the name of this race. It's called the Leuna or Leuna. It's no Leuna 200. It's the Leuna. What a weird name for a race. The Leuna. I won the Leuna. Okay. Only 38 cars for 38 spots. Again, not shocking that there's no new teams going out west as the costs are just don't wager the potential benefits. Again, no real changes to the entry list. J.J. Yeley stays in the 14. The only real changes are Sage Karam will replace Jordan Anderson in the 32 this week. Again, that will be the Harmon entry. So Sage Karam's in the 32. And that's pretty much it. There's really no change. It's kind of the exact same list. Some notes, though. BJ McLeod's Xfinity team, they are running the first 4 races. Yes, that's right. The 36 DGM entry was on the initial entry list and did withdraw. Forgot to mention that. But what was I talking about again? Sorry, guys. I just lost my train of thought. Dang it. Can anyone tell me what was I just talking about? Oh, yeah, BJ McLeod. They were running the first 4 races of the season, and then they were going to evaluate. So keep in mind, the 78 car is not full-time this year in either division. You'll probably see BJ run more Xfinity than Cup, obviously, due to the purse money. But don't expect that 78 Xfinity car to be full-time. After Bristol, they will evaluate their season and look at it going forward. So, which sucks because I love BJ, and I'm really curious to see what he's going to do this weekend. But yeah, we're going to really see how SVG does this year. It's a lot of big ones, for guys like SVG. See how Haley Deegan does. Leland Honeyman, Brennan Poole, Nick Leitz, Ryan Ellis again, Patrick Emmerling, Garrett Smithley, like Anthony Alfredo. How are they going to do with these teams? Jesse Love, how is Jesse Love going to do on a track like this? Like I said, it's going to be an interesting race. Nobody goes home, so no one has to worry about qualifying in, but it's definitely going to be an interesting race for sure. Definitely going to be an interesting race for sure. Can Riley Herbst win by 14 seconds again? We'll have to see. So if I have to give a winner's pick, I am going to go with Sheldon Creed. I think he's going to get his first win in the Gibbs car. So I'm going to go with Sheldon Creed as my winner's pick. My underdog pick, I will go with put me down for Sammy Smith. I'll put him down as my underdog pick. So, Yeley is running for Cup Series points, so he is not going to get a playoff waiver. No. To run in the Cup Series, Yeley had to run for Cup Series points. But yeah, so that's Xfinity at Las Vegas. Going to be a pretty important race for a lot of those teams to see how they really do. I'm really going to be watching SVG and Hailie Deegan to see how they do. They got great equipment. There's no doubt about that. And it'll be interesting to see how they do in a race like that. Going to be the first real test for Shane, in my opinion. The first two races were just kind of get through it. But yeah, now the Cup Series, Las Vegas, again, an open car. We actually have JJ Yeley and the 44 team are back. The 44 team are back. Urban Youth Racing School will be the sponsor on the 44, so cool to see them back. Hopefully they'll pay Greg Biffle finally. Other than that, again, same entry list from Atlanta, just with no BJ, and you add in JJ. Again, a lot of firsts for this race. How will the new Trackhouse cars perform, like a Zane Smith and Carson Hocevar? How will the improved performance of Bob Jenkins' team be shown at a track like this? Will Colleague's new team do pretty bad? Derek Kraus in the 16. I don't know if he's ready, but we're going to see. Daniel Hemrick, how is he going to do? Probably not very good. It's going to be a lot of firsts, but Las Vegas should be a fun weekend. My pick for the win, I'm going to go with Kyle Larson. Pretty easy choice. My underdog pick, I will go with, put me down for John Hunter Nemechek. I'll put down as my underdog pick. So, yeah. Xfinity Cup Truck Las Vegas. It's going to be the real, in my opinion, first real race of the weekend, or the year, I should say. And this race is really going to tell us what the 2024 season is going to look like for all three divisions, and who even our championship competitors might be. So it should be a fun one. I'm looking forward to it. I'll be live tweeting for all three races, guys, so follow along there. Hope you guys enjoyed the podcast. No ARCA Racing podcast this week, as they are not running. The next one will not be until Phoenix. Again, continue to support the channel. Again, guys, I said at the beginning of the podcast, we are doing a fan sponsorship deal. If you want to get aboard my Salem supercar, which is a former stock car, with a crate motor in it that Will Kimmel runs. It's a series he owns. For $25, you can get your name or social handles on the car. Or if you want to get a picture of a meme, or if you want to get a picture of a little company you guys have, or if you just want to get a picture of some random guy, like I've seen before, get on cars, just simply DM me on Twitter, and we'll work out a deal. Like I said, it's just either $25 or $75. If you guys want to support the car, get your name out there. You guys will be featured on my YouTube channel. You guys will be featured on my Twitter. And so thank you guys for watching. I've been Colby Evans. I've been starting Park Car. I'm gonna be I don't know. Man, we'll be here next week. Again, these Backmarker Battles episodes really depend on how good the finishes do. So we might be here next week. We might not. No guarantees. If not, guys, have a great rest of your Tuesday night. Again, I've been Colby Evans, starting Park Car, signing off. I'll give you guys the goodbye salute, and I'll see y'all next time. Goodbye.